once again, if you're traveling, passengers and vehicles being rerouted to enter and leave through T1. All right, joining me now with more is Mark Mendelson. He's a former homicide detective. Mark, we're just getting some new information that the suspect produced a weapon, that 3 officers engaged with this man. I know the details are scarce at this time. What do you imagine would have happened leading up to those moments outside of Terminal 1 at Pearson this morning?
Well, that's the problem. We don't know. But what we do know is that Pearson is laden with security cameras. And we've got officers, at least 3 officers that are there who have body cams. And there are car cams. So there's going to be a quick look by the SIU as to what led up to all of this, to this interaction. Now that we know that the officer is, there are 3 officers involved, I assume they'll all be identified as subject officers. Their firearms will be seized. We know that the shooting victim is now dead. Indications are he had a weapon of sorts. They'll want to seize that weapon. They're going to seize the vehicle that he pulled up in, which I think is that SUV that we see on tape. Where that school bus plays into this scenario, I don't know, other than it may have been hit by a bullet, in which case it's now part of the scene as well. So there's lots of moving parts going on. So the SIU now have contained the scene. It's their scene. From this point on, it's their forensic officers. They will have seized the officers' firearms, because they know how many bullets, how many projectiles each one of those officers has at the start of duty, as opposed to what they have now. They'll be able to determine, you know, how many shots were fired by each particular officer. There's the combing of the scene for the casings, the shell casings that come out of the officer's firearms. And if the dead guy's got a firearm, there may be casings there as well. They're going to seize those vehicles. They're going to seize the body cams. They're going to go through all of this. They're going to go through all the security video that's available now. And then we just added another component in terms of the autopsy itself. Now that he's deceased, there will be a forensic post-mortem that takes place. They'll be able to determine at that post-mortem how many shots were fired. If any of the bullets or projectiles are still in the body, they will be able to trace that back to a specific officer's gun. So they'll know a lot more information, but it's not going to come in the next couple of hours. That autopsy probably won't even get done till tomorrow.
But what about other information? Since this SIU is involved, will it take longer for the public to get more facts?
That's always been historically a problem, okay? So I expect that we're going to hear from the SIU. I'm glad that they came out at the beginning and said this is contained, because given the social environment and the temperature that we're all living in right now, it's very easy for misinformation and disinformation to take over and call this a terrorist attack. And that's a whole other issue to deal with. So I'm glad they got ahead of that. What we're going to hear from them is what we usually hear, that there was an interaction with Peel Regional Police. A man interacted with them. Shots were fired. A person is dead. And we have identified 3 or 4 officers as witness officers and 3 or 4 of them as subject officers. And autopsy will be conducted on tomorrow. And that's what we're probably going to get. I hope they... You know, I don't expect them to expand any further than that, because this really is in its infancy in terms of gathering all the information, being able to view all this footage, speaking to the witness officers. Subject officers are going to have an opportunity to speak with counsel. They can make decisions whether they want to talk to the SIU or not. That is their right. There's nothing nefarious or sneaky about that. That is their absolute right. Some officers do talk after speaking with counsel. Some don't. But we've got a lot of camera footage to go through and a lot of witnesses to identify and hopefully interview as well who were leaving the airport.
And as some people have observed, it is, if you will, a bit of a blessing that this happened outside of the terminal, which brings to mind my next question for you. Is an airport, Pearson, wide open space, hundreds of people, a soft target? If this person was looking to make mischief, to cause a real problem, why go to the airport?
It is a soft target in many ways. Yes, you have the presence of Peel Police there, you have security guards, but you have hundreds of thousands of people moving through there all during the course of the day. Limos, Ubers, Lyfts, people dropping off their family members, all kinds of cars. We've seen footage of people, you know, walking along a sidewalk on a road, pulling their suitcases. All these people, you know,
vulnerable.
They are vulnerable. So it is a soft target. I mean, it's very difficult to get past security, certainly very difficult to get to airside at Pearson.
But not to enter the terminal.
But not to enter the terminal, right? And then, decisions have to be made. But they won't make those decisions until we find out from the SIU what the motivation was for all of this. Was this an intimate partner violence situation where a spouse was leaving somebody else and they didn't want them to leave? Was this somebody who wanted to take their own life, death by, suicide by cop? Call it whatever you want. We don't know. We're just going to speculate along the way. And until such time as the SIU give out some information, I think we need something to calm everybody's concern. But it doesn't have to be a lot. I mean, I get that they have to protect the integrity of their investigation, but you could put some information out there now that eases everybody's concern.
Thank you for agreeing with the media on that one. Mark Mendelson, we really appreciate it. And again, I just want to make note that because of the investigation outside of Terminal 1, passengers and vehicles are being rerouted. They're going through T1 arrivals, so expect some delays. Call ahead if that brings you some comfort, some peace of mind. Mark Mendelson, appreciate you being with us to discuss this. Breaking news this morning, one man dead after a police officer involved shooting outside Terminal 1 at Pearson in Toronto.